Hello, bonjour, namaste, ni hao, and ohio, everybody. What is going on? It is Gale here. Welcome back to the YouTube channel once again for another Danmachi video. And I know it's been a couple of weeks, in fact, since I last uploaded a video. I think the last video we uploaded was, of course, my story review of Danmachi Full End of Water and Light. And I do apologize that I haven't been able to record any sort of video. I've just been super busy with work. Of course, the year ending happened and we had auditors at work, so just been swamped with dealing with everything that's been happening. So unfortunately, I was super exhausted whenever I'd come back from work, and then during my 4-day break that I would get, I'd just be relaxing and resting. So unfortunately, I've not been able to record a video in quite some time now, so I do feel a little bit rusty recording this one, but we're finally back, and hopefully from this week onwards, maybe it'll take a while to get back into the groove of things, but hopefully from this week onwards we should be back into the groove of things in terms of recording videos as well as streaming as well, hopefully. Definitely going to be a little bit inconsistent still, for sure, no doubt, but I'm hoping to be a little bit more consistent than I have been over the last week or so. Now, of course, today's video, as you guys can see by the title of this video, is all about tomorrow's announcement. Of course, if you guys aren't aware of it or have forgotten about it, tomorrow on the April 4th, we are getting an announcement, a massive announcement regarding the 10th anniversary project for the anime. Now, if we take a look at the explanation by the Danmachi Anime Twitter account that they posted a few days ago, this year, 2015 to 2025, Danmachi Anime 10th anniversary on the 4th of April at 12 p.m. JST. So this is going to be something super early in the morning for me. This is going to be like 3 a.m. in the morning. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to cover it immediately due to, of course, my neighbors being asleep and everything. But I'm going to try my best to make a video at least nonetheless. The 10th anniversary anime project will be unveiled. Big announcement on the anniversary of the broadcast of the first episode of season 1. Stay tuned. Now, who knows what this could be? Who knows what this could be? But that's why we're here. We're going to be going over a couple of different things that I think is going to happen, and it's not like my previous video. Of course, I've already done a prediction video talking about what we could see for the 10th anniversary project, but that was when it was only the anime side of things. That was me talking about it from an anime only perspective, assuming it is going to be an anime project. I do think there is a possibility of other things happening, so I want to talk about that in this video. And of course, if you guys go on to enjoy this one, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comment section down below as well, what do you guys think it will be? Of course, I think everybody's assuming and predicting it's going to be something, well, anime related because it's the anime project, but I do think there is a good chance it could be something else as well. And I do think that, some people are forgetting as to what it could potentially be. So let's go over it together. Let's break it down and let's see what is in store for us tomorrow based on our predictions. Now, first and foremost, I think the first major prediction, like I've been saying so far, is that it's going to be a brand new anime. Now, obviously, I think a lot of people are predicting it to be one of 4 things. Of course, the first thing being Sword Art Otoria. We're gonna have to wait and see if it is actually that. I think that's the one that people want the most, in all honesty. When it comes to, of course, from a story perspective at least, right, it makes the most sense to do it. Of course, I think there are a lot of other factors to consider in that, it's a lot of catch up to do when it's if it's Sword Art Otoria, right? There's so much to catch up on. And also along with that, from a business perspective, the first season wasn't sold extremely well to the public, and so of course, as a result, the name itself isn't necessarily going to be something that people will be excited about. But nonetheless, assuming we do get, of course, Sword Art Otoria, right, there's a couple of options that they could follow, right? One, just continuing on as it was and going into season 2, right? That's option number 1. Option number 2 is one that I think most people want, is that it's a reboot, of course, right? It's a reboot of the entire season as a whole, starting from fresh, starting from season 1, and doing it right. As subsections to season or as subsections to option 2, specifically I should say here, you have 2 options. Well, even option 1 has these subsections as well. One, it's made by JC staff again, which I think a lot of people don't want, right? A lot of people don't want that. Option number 2 is that it's a brand new studio. Ideally, I would prefer if it's a reboot with a new studio. I think that is the ideal scenario for us. However, I do think that there's a very good chance that this could be just a season 2 with JC staff as well. It's very possible that that could be the case as well. I think that is the likeliest case if we are going to get anything Sword Art Online, is that we're just going straight into season 2 with JC staff. But I think the ideal scenario, and I think the one that everybody wants, is that we get a new studio with a rebooted season. I think that would be the best case scenario, of course. You know, that would be amazing to have. But that's option number 1, right? That's option number 1 from the anime perspective. Number 2, we obviously have Argonaut. I think Argonaut would be a really good anime to have, because you don't need to necessarily know about Danmachi to still enjoy it. Of course, there are elements of Danmachi in it, and of course you have the whole past and present thing going on there to a small degree. But for the most part, it is something that you can watch as a standalone series, and it would still perform extremely well if promoted correctly. That would work extremely well, and I think it would be amazing to have as well, in my opinion. Option number 3 is a Stray record. Of course, following season 5, the events of season 5 with Ryu and everything, and Astrea Familia and all that sort of jazz, even season 4, if you include that as well. Astrea record makes the most sense, to be honest, in that regards. It will feature the characters that people know about the most, right? Rather than tackling characters that people don't know about in Argonaut. You're tackling characters that people know about, but also you're tackling a time period where the series was much darker. That way, a lot of the more older fans, the more older anime fans as well, just generally, when you're talking about anime fans, I'm talking about general anime fans, will like it a lot more. They'll appreciate the darker times, the darker, you know, situations way more as well. And not only that, a Stray record, as much as people like to say that it doesn't really have that much of an impact on the series, it still does to an extent, because you get to see exactly what it was like during that time. But also, not only that, you get to see the connections between you know, what was the old Orario and the new present Orario, right? So for me, that is also something that's important. So that's option number 3. Option number 4, of course, is a continuation of the Arrow of Orion movie, and they make a movie in the near future, and it's based on Ada's Vesta, the 4th anniversary of Danmimo. Ada's Vesta was always touted as a sort of semi-sequel, a spiritual successor to Arrow of Orion. It had elements from Arrow of Orion in it as well, and so it would make the most sense to adapt that, in all honesty, if they wanted to do a movie, because it would make the most sense. It's non-canonical, but it works really well with the movie that they made a few years ago. So I think that would be the 4 options they have if it is going to be an anime project announcement. What I am hoping it's not is season 6, and I don't think it's season 6, because I feel like if they were going to make a season 6 announcement, it would either happen much later on, purely because we're too close to the light novels, or if they really wanted to continue on with season 6, they would have announced it already last month. I know that this is an auspicious moment, and you know, it's the 10th anniversary of the project. That's why they would have probably waited for a month, right? But I feel like if you were, why wouldn't you have just made the announcement last month, right? I think this is something completely different. I think it's going to be something completely unique. Watch me be completely wrong here and it's actually season 6, but I'm really hoping it's not. Again, I'm going to do the same thing I did in that video from a year or 2 ago, when I said season 5 cannot happen next. It's just not right. They should do something else entirely. I was right. They should have done something else entirely. But I'm hoping that this time around it actually isn't season 6. It would actually be really bad if it is season 6, in my opinion. It would be generally bad, personally, to me. We're gonna have to just wait and see. Of course, we're gonna just have to wait and see, but I'm really hoping it's not season 6. But that's all from an anime perspective, right? It's all from an anime perspective. Now, the thing is, right, we have a couple of other options and a couple of other things that it could be. I think the second option is something that is following up on Full End of Water and Light, and it's a brand new game announcement. Now, I do think that this is less likely. I don't know how much of a success it was for the company to have made Full End of Water and Light. I mean, I know we didn't get that many people playing the game, of course. I don't think a lot of people bought the game. I know there would have been a decent chunk, of course, of the fans, especially in Japan, buying the game. But I think if you're taking a look at it in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't just a resounding success. I think it actually did pretty much on par, if not similar-ish, to the Slime game, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, I think this game was at a little bit of a higher price, so you have to remember that revenue-wise, it would have gotten more as well. But core-wise, I think the game was still pretty solid. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see if, you know, it was a success for them or not. But I do wonder if there is some other game being made on the side, potentially. There is a possibility on that. Do I think it's likely to happen? Probably not. I think they're going to wait and see what's happening here. Of course, we just had a recent announcement regarding Danmachi Battle Chronicle as well. Which I will talk about in a separate video, of course, as well, wherein, of course, we saw the end of service announcement for the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 for that game. Now, that could be cost-cutting measures, it could be that, but it could also be something else as well. Cost-cutting measures for what reason? Maybe to keep the game alive, or they're putting their resources into another area, potentially. Who knows, right? Who knows? We're gonna have to just wait and see on that front, because I think that that could be also something to potentially discuss and talk about in the near future. Now, let's talk about also the third option as well, right? We talked about the games. I think the game is possible, but I think it's less likely just because we still don't know how much of a success it was for Full Under Water and Light, and I do think it's unlikely, but I do think it's a possibility because, you know, to just, you know, run through the entire, you know, 10 years, this is a game that will follow the 10 years of the Danmachi anime, you know, from season 1 to season 5, everything that happened in an open world game or whatever it may be. Maybe not open world game, but open area game, dungeon exploration and all, something like that, right? It could happen. But I think the third option is something that would be, I wouldn't say it's a big announcement, but I can see why they tout it as a big announcement. The only thing I would say, the reason why I think we won't find it as a big announcement, because it is something that is inevitable. That's something that's going to happen anyways, and that is, of course, the continuation of the light novel. There is a very good chance, in my opinion, that this could just be an announcement of Volume 22 is coming out, and, or sorry, Volume 21 is coming out, and Volume 16 of Sword Art Toria is coming out. And that's it. That's all it could be. I hope it's not, and I think it's very unlikely it is, to be quite honest, purely because this is, again, them saying it's an anime 10th anniversary project. I think it's unlikely, but companies have disappointed before. I still remember Persona's anniversary project having a fucking concert out of all things, along with a bunch of just merchandise, and then there being only like 2 or 3 game announcements, and that's it. So it is not impossible for that to be the case. We're gonna have to wait and see. But yes, I do think that this could also just be a light novel announcement, and that's it, right? It could be just that. And it is possible. It is very possible. So the light novel side of things is a thing that I think is, if I were to put it as a percentage, I would say the anime project, it being an anime project, is like 60-70%. Then I would say game is like 10%. Light novel project is 10%. But I think the remaining percentage is a prediction that I don't think a lot of us have necessarily thought about. But I think it's not impossible. What if they decided to do a sort of reboot of the entire Danmachi anime? Now, this I think is an unlikely one, just because of I know how close their connections are to JC staff. But it's not necessarily out of the realm of a possibility either, I feel like. And I'm basing this on the fact that if you look at stuff like One Piece, for example, I know One Piece is 10,000 times bigger than Danmachi. Let's not get it twisted. It's 10,000 times bigger than Danmachi. But One Piece, for example, recently, of course, had its whole thing of, oh, Toei is doing the main series, Toei is also doing a sort of semi-remaster of old episodes, and then Wit Studio is doing a remake of the anime. That's getting 3 different things altogether for One Piece, right? What if Danmachi were to have its own reboot / remake as well for season 1 onwards, potentially, or at least season 1? And what if that season 1 remake is a way for us, the audience, to say like, oh, this studio is really good, and we get a remake of all the other seasons, and then maybe it's a fresh start for Danmachi and we just put JC stuff to the side. What if, right? Again, I don't think it's likely, because obviously, you know, it's a bit stereotypical, but it does feel like this happens usually. the Japanese companies and companies and studios and all this sort of stuff, they're very tight knit usually, especially if they've worked together for a very long time. Some aren't, but most are, right? Most are like this. So I do wonder if it's unlikely because of that, but who knows, right? Maybe they've heard our worries, they've heard our concerns, and things might change. We're gonna have to wait and see. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. I'm curious to see what you guys have to say. These are the 4 like big overarching predictions that I have. Like I said, I think it's gonna be the anime more so than anything else, but we're gonna just have to wait and see. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Once again, I appreciate all of y'all for staying subscribed, watching all the other content as well on the channel, watching all my live streams as well, even though they're not Danmachi related. If you come by the live streams, I always appreciate it. And we're gonna continue on grinding. We're gonna continue on creating content, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, take it easy, everybody. Ciao. Bye bye.